Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Emma and I am an indie fantasy and dystopian author since 2019. So I've been around a little bit. And today's video is an author experience video. I don't know how else to describe it succinctly, but basically today I am talking about my Kickstarter campaign and everything that went into that, the behind the scenes expenses, the cost of printing books, the funds that came in, basically an overview of what went right, what didn't, and essentially I am super bummed about the whole thing. Real talk, real honesty, it did not go the way that I was hoping that it would go. And I need to talk about it. Even if nobody sees this video, I hope a few people who are considering Kickstarters see this and it can help them in some way. I hope that some readers see this and can kind of see it all in a new light. Not kicking Kickstarter in general, it just didn't go the way I wanted to, and I need to talk about it, and I figure video format on YouTube will be the best way. I don't want to come across like I'm whining or I need pity on social media, and Threads, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, they don't have the room to give the context and the nuance in the content. Even if you wrote several slides, people aren't going to read it, and they're just going to get bits and pieces, and they're going to miss the whole point, and they're going to take things out of context. And so I find that video format is the best way to get everything across. And, people say, oh, well, you said this and that. It's like, well, clearly you didn't watch the whole video, or you would know that I said this later. Anyway, basically buckle up. I don't know how long this will be, but yeah. So I don't know when I first started thinking about the Kickstarter. It was over a year ago, I know that for sure, that I was in contact with my cover designer. My cover designer had done some character artwork for a previous release for me, and I really like her art style, and I kind of had this itch to create a special edition with her doing the cover art. And so that's kind of where the whole idea for the Kickstarter came to be. If you might hear my dryer wash machine in the background. I apologize for that, but I can't make it go any quieter. So basically, I have a YA epic fantasy trilogy. The third and final book released this past May, and I ran the Kickstarter during that release month as kind of like a celebration of the series being over. And additionally, book 1 just celebrated its 5-year anniversary about 5 days ago as of recording this video. So it was kind of like its anniversary year. We'll get special editions, And I want to preface all of this by saying this was mostly for me. I wanted these special editions. I wanted really pretty books. And I guess on a certain level, I also wanted to feel like I was successful. And, really successful authors get to have special editions, or they deserve special editions. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to claim that. You don't have to be super successful to have nice things. And I'll just say that, again, things did not go to plan. So I don't know how to feel about that. But, yeah, I am not a super successful author in terms of finances. I've sold over 1,000 books since I started, which is amazing. But I am still very much in the red in terms of expenses versus revenue. So, yeah. But anyway, these are the special editions. I don't have book 3 because Book Vault shorted my order and I've already shipped out everybody's books. But anyway, this is book 1 with the gorgeous cover art. We've got a bookmark, we've got sprayed edges, and the backs are also different covers. I still have Invisalign in if you have been watching previous videos. I'm almost done, thank God, but I might yeah, I might not be able to talk sometimes. And this is book 3. Again, sprayed edges, different back cover. And then the books also have end papers, and they have 3 colored interior drawings. So like the map is kind of see here in this light, it's yellow. So yeah, those are the books. Again, there's 3 of them. And to facilitate, because as I'm sure you guys know to some extent, creating these special edition books comes with some upfront costs. And I've heard for years all this talk about Kickstarter, which is a crowdfunding platform. And so I decided to go with that as my way to facilitate these hardcover editions. And if you're not familiar with Kickstarter, I will try to give a brief overview of how it works. So it's not like GoFundMe in the sense that GoFundMe, somebody says, I need $10,000 to do this surgery, right? And so then people will donate $5, $2, $100, $1,000 until they reach their $10,000 goal, and then the person gets that $10,000. I'm sure GoFundMe takes a percentage to host the whole thing, but anyway, you get the idea. Kickstarter is a similar like concept, except the people that give the money also get the rewards. And so it's called backing. You back certain rewards, and then at the end of the campaign, once the creator of the campaign gets their money, you get the reward that you paid for. So in my case, one of my reward tiers was the hardcover books. So basically, the backers would say, oh, I want this book. They would pay for it. And then at the end of the campaign, I get the money. Kickstarter takes their portion, and then I send the book to backers. Now, I had several different tiers, is what they call it. So, for instance, you could get just book 1 in hardcover, or you get the whole 3-book set. And so there's different options. And the other thing with Kickstarter is that you set a campaign funding goal, and if you don't meet the goal, you don't get any money, and like everybody gets their money back, and you don't send out any rewards. And the way that that's helpful is that backers feel confident in that they're not going to spend money on something that's not going to get built, in a sense. So, and then creators don't build something that nobody wants. And so that's kind of how it helps with that. So if like nobody bought my Kickstarter, I wouldn't print any books because nobody bought any. It's kind of like a pre-order when it comes to the books, is kind of the way I look at it and the way I advertise it. And basically the idea is that you look at all of your upfront expenses and the cost to print the books versus your revenue, and you kind of can estimate how much money the Kickstarter needs to make for the whole thing to be viable. And then there's all kinds of advice on the internet about how, you know, you should have a lower goal, because if your goal is like $500, you'll hit it quicker, and then once the goal is hit, people are more likely to back the project if it's already funded. So, and it gets a very small window too. Like they say 3 weeks is the best. So if you hit your goal on day 2, you're more likely to go way above your goal in the remaining time that's left. Whereas if you set the goal too high, it might take longer to reach it. People are less likely to buy in because they don't know if you're going to meet it, yada yada. So it's very tricky, and I don't quite understand it, because like the way I look at it is, if you spend, let's say you spent $2,000 and you set your goal to $5,000. Well, if you meet that and don't go any higher, you've lost money. But the other way people say to look at it is that it's better to make some money than to make no money, right? Because you can keep, like, I can keep printing these and I can keep selling them into however long I want. So it's really an unlimited thing. But anyway, that's the gist of it. And I had multiple tiers. So again, I had just book 1, I had the whole trilogy set, and then I was also selling paperbacks of the like original, not special edition paperbacks, and also ebooks. And the great thing about the ebook tiers is that they're 100% profit minus the Kickstarter fees. So obviously, like, I don't have to pay to print an ebook. And their covers were bought years and years ago. And then I also had buttons and art prints. And I had, this series has a novella, and the novella is usually exclusive to my newsletter subscribers. But I had the ebook and the paperback available through this Kickstarter, exclusive, limited time only. I do not sell the paperback any other time. So I had that, and then I had like digital stuff. I had deleted scenes and character, world, and lore guides, and that kind of stuff. That's the gist of the campaign. And so I set my goal for $1,000, and that's $1,000 Canadian, so I don't know what that is in American, but it is less. So it seems like a lot, but the money is different, right? And I did hit my goal, okay? I will say I hit my goal, which was great. I'm just pulling up some stuff here on my computer. Where does it say dashboard, perhaps? Yes, okay. So my goal was $1,000, and I ended the campaign with $1,198. That's 119% funded, and I did most of the funding in the first, 2 weeks. The last week, basically nothing. And I reached my goal on day 16 minus 3 is 13. So about 2 weeks. I hit my goal 2 weeks into the 3 weeks that I had for the campaign. And it was mostly ebooks that, I wonder if I can go here. Yeah, so reward popularity. I had an ebook trilogy bundle. That was the most that I made. 9 backers of that, which is 41% of backers, and 19% of money raised, which is great. That's awesome. Again, complete profit for those. But that was one of the first things that upset me, because that's not what the campaign was for, right? I'm so happy that people have my books, they're reading them, they wanted them. That's amazing. But the fact of the matter is that the ebooks have been available on Amazon for years, and the price here is actually a bit higher because of the Kickstarter fees and because I'm trying to fund this project. So it's these people could have saved $1 or so. And anyway, I feel like I'm not explaining it well, but if you're an author, I'm sure you get what I mean. And the next highest tier was no reward chosen, which is, again, awesome. These people were just donating to the project because they wanted to see it succeed, or they like to just help, fantasy authors. I don't know who these people are. Some of them I do know are people that are local to me, and they already have all my books, and they're not special edition people, but they wanted to help. So that's great. That was 23% of backers and 18% of money raised. So between ebooks and no reward, we're at 64%. Then the next highest was book 1 ebook. So more ebooks, because The other one was the bundle. And this was 3 backers, which is 14%, and 2% of money raised. So not a lot of the money raised, but a decent amount of backers. So now between all the ebooks and no reward, we're at 78% of all backers. So 78% of the campaign did not buy the special editions, which was the point of the campaign. And then the next highest was the special edition trilogy bundle, so all 3, which was again the point. That's 3 backers. And 46% of money raised. So that was like almost half of the money raised, because those are super expensive. And then the next after that was book 1 special edition hardcover, so where you just bought just this guy. I had 2 backers for that, and that was 10% of money raised. And then the last one was I had 1 backer who just bought book 3 because she thought it was the prettiest, which, I mean, yeah, it is. So, the whole campaign I sold, which was meant to, for the hardcovers, I sold 3 bundles, that's 9, 2 singles of book 1, so that's 11, and 1 single of book 3, which is 12. So I sold 12 hardcovers of the special edition. And so I think you can see how that can be super disheartening, because basically no one wanted this book. And after, we're nearing 6 years of authorship now. No, we're nearing 7 years of authorship. After all that time, I just thought I'd be further ahead, and I was really rooting on this Kickstarter to give me that push, to give me that confidence to keep going, because I tell you, the last year or so has been brutally hard. There's been a lot of setbacks, a lot of disappointment, a lot of wanting to do cool things and not being able to afford it. And this Kickstarter was kind of like the last cool thing that I could afford to do, and it did not. Like, again, I met my goal, but the goal I set was lower than what I needed, because people say that that's what you need to do. And so I guess a part of me almost wishes that, I don't know, it's hard. Like, part of me wishes that I'd set the goal higher and didn't meet it. And then the other part of me is happy that I did it anyway, even though it didn't go the way I wanted. It's really hard when you go through all that. But that was May. So the campaign ran from May 4th to the 21st, I believe it was. And I just finally sent out the last physical, I finally sent out the physical rewards on Wednesday last week. And that would have been the 23rd of July. So not bad timing-wise. I will say that I got these printed through Book Vault, and they're fairly decent quality. I'm sure you can tell here. I don't know if you can see this very well, but I'm not overly impressed with the sprayed edges. They're kind of thin in places. You can kind of see the white showing through a bit. And I'm not overly impressed with Book Vault in general. I have the end papers, and these took forever for my cover designer and I to get them right. And that was with the templates that Book Vault provides. Basically, what kept happening is that the cover, you can see this cover piece wraps around, and so you had to make sure that the cover design went over the template so that it would wrap around. But it took us so long to get this to work. And you can kind of see there's still a little bit of white there. And the back, this one's not so bad. You can see a little bit of white here too. I think, yeah, book one's a little worse. It's mostly, it's like crooked. Because you can see that piece, but you can't see anything here until you get to the bottom. That's not supposed to be white. And according to the template, it's not supposed to be white. It should have overlapped fully, but it didn't. And after literally weeks of back and forth, that's the best we could do. And I'm a little bit sad that it's not perfect because I feel bad putting these books out into the world. People paid for them, but I don't think we could have done any better at this point. We're both like totally exhausted from trying, and I just wanted to get these books out to people. But yeah, so not super happy with Book Vault. They also shorted me a book, so again, I don't even have a complete set. I'm missing book 2, and I'm waiting on that to come. Yeah, so that's one of the things that went wrong. And then the biggest thing that went wrong was my estimates of what everything was going to cost. And I want to break down the behind the scenes costs of these kind of things, because I think a lot of people just don't understand what authors are talking about a lot of the time and why things are priced the way that they are. But basically, and again, I'm talking in Canadian, so you're going to have to like do some conversion if you want to understand the real numbers here. I did do some rough calculations, but basically for one of these, I estimated that they were going to cost $35 to print and ship to me. Yeah. So for the hardcover bundle, all three, that was going to be $105 a cost. Okay? And then I decided that I was going to retail them for $150, which is $50 a book. But then you have to add 10% to whatever your retail price is, because Kickstarter is going to take 10% of your sales. Okay? So the final price that readers would pay for 3-book bundle is 165 Canadian. That was roughly, at the time of calculation, $118.80 USD for 3 books. Hardcover with sprayed edges, bookmark, patterned end papers, brand new illustrated covers, and interior colored art. Okay? So $165 Canadian, roughly 120 USD. That was going to give me a profit of $60 and a profit after fees of $54. Yeah. So if you do the math on that, 54 divided by 3, I don't know. It's too late in the day for this. It's going to be a profit about 18 a book. I don't think that's right. Anyway. And then, so the paperbacks were going to cost, let me just do a single paperback. Give me a second here. A single paperback would cost $14.25 to print. I was going to retail it on the Kickstarter for $25. Add 10%, it's $27.50, which is roughly $20 USD. And the profit after fees is going to be $11.93 per paperback. Now remember, with the Kickstarter, you're also trying to pay back the costs to make the special edition. So the cost of the cover design, the cost of the pattern end papers design. Oh, I also forgot. It's been a little bit. I also got fancy chapter headers designed. So that also costs money. And And so part of the Kickstarter is you're getting people to prepay for the book so that you're getting your expenses paid up front. And so you're not, when the book comes out, you're not as much in the red as you would be otherwise. Because for most book publications, if you're an independent author, you're going to pay for a cover design and you're going to pay for editing at a minimum, usually. And so cover design can be, usually I spend around $300. My editing is usually $1,000 plus because I have really long books. So let's say conservatively I'm spending $1,500 a book at minimum. And so when I release the book, I'm at minus $1,500. And so every book sale I make, I slowly go up towards zero. The idea with the Kickstarter is that you get people to pre-buy the book so you don't start at zero. You've made at minus, you've made some of the money back already. And if you're really lucky, you've made all the costs up front. And so every book you sell after that is just pure profit, which is kind of like the dream. And I've seen people do it on Kickstarter. I did not do it. And I didn't really think I was going to, but I figured I'd get closer to it than I did. And then, of course, the ebooks were complete profit, and so on and such forth. Now I'm going to talk the final numbers here. So I estimated that the whole campaign was going to cost $557.97. A lot of math involved in that. We won't get into it, but that's printing the books and having them shipped to me. That's printing art. That is shipping expenses like the boxes and the envelopes and whatnot. And then I estimated that the funds were going to be $960.30. And then I'd have $400 in profit. What actually happened was it cost me $1,122.49. The funds were $14,413.97. $1,413.97. But that includes what people paid for shipping. So keep that in mind. And then my actual profit on the Kickstarter was $291.48. So, yeah. It funded at $1,198, and the money that I took home is $291.48. And that is just pure what we call gross profit, which is your cost of inventory, which is revenue minus your cost of inventory. So that's just baseline. We're not talking about any of the expenses that went into creating the books. We're just talking about printing the books, getting them to me. So that's $291 profit. Now, breaking down the expenses. So I bought a Kickstarter for Authors ebook written by Anthea Sharp. She also hosts the Facebook's Kickstarter for Authors group, which I highly recommend joining to get even more in-depth advice than what I'm giving. This is my experience after one Kickstarter. I did join the group. I learned a lot, but I clearly didn't learn enough. There's a lot of information on there. It can be hard to find out what you need to take, what you should throw away. Everybody's experience is different. There's a lot of romantasy authors on there, and I don't write romantasy, so they're obviously going to have higher results than me because my books don't have spice, and that's a whole other problem that I'm not going to get into. But the ebook cost $11.29. I consider that an expense as part of the Kickstarter because I wouldn't have bought it if I wasn't going to do a Kickstarter. My fancy chapter headers, of which I had 4 different ones. There's another one there. I had 4 different chapter headers. And then I also, on top of that, had 3 scene break designs made. That's when there's like kind of like a fade to black. Usually you have 3 dots, but I had special ones. This one is like a flame, and each book had its own special, unique to that book scene break. So 4 chapter header designs and 3 scene breaks. That came to $898.15, which sounds insane just saying it out loud. But I think it's cheaper in her currency, but it's a lot more expensive in mine. So yeah, I don't want to say I regret it because they're incredible and I love that I have them. I just wish it wasn't so expensive because, like, it's crazy. I wish I could sell my books for that, you know? And then Book Vault, where I got these printed, there were setup fees. That came to $96.63 because I had 3 titles to set up. The covers themselves cost me a total... Oh, that's not even the full total yet because I haven't finished paying for it. So far, I have one more payment to make, but so far it has cost me $1,305.15 for 3 covers. And again, there's detailed art, like, it's hard to see, but like there's like silhouettes in the background. And then this one, you can see the buildings over here, kind of. And then this one, and this one, the tapestry and the light coming in. And I don't have book 2, but so basically it's like 6 very detailed illustrations. So that came to like, I think by the time it's all said and done, it's like $1,500, $1,600. Yay! Oh, and that also includes the end papers, actually. So the same artist did the end papers. So I had 3 sets of end papers, 1 for each book. So not so bad when you consider that the end papers are included in that price. And then I ordered 3 proof copies to check how the formatting went, and those cost $190.34. So all told, and again, without the final cost on the cover, I spent $2,501.56 on just designing the books. And so that dollar figure there is what we were hoping that the Kickstarter would pay towards. And yes, it did. Like, the Kickstarter on a base level was profitable, but it barely put a dent in what it cost to create these books. And so my final net loss on the whole endeavor is $2,210.08. That is what I spent beyond what I made. And yeah, so $2,000 basically is what I spent in excess of what I made. And it's really disheartening. And the thing that I keep telling myself and that you have to remember is that I can continue to sell these editions. And so the hope is that eventually you sell enough to make back that initial investment, right? But I've got a long way to go because the profit on individual books is very low. So I'm going to have to sell a large quantity of these editions to ever make that money back. And at this point in my author career, I mean, I only sold 12 on the Kickstarter. So how do I get people to buy them? I don't know. I'm at a very strange place in my author career where I'm very lost. I don't know what to do, but I'm not giving up. I'm going to keep going, and I hope you do too. And the biggest factor, so again, we'll circle back a little bit here. I had estimated a profit of $400 before design expenses, and I got an actual profit of just under $300. So what went wrong? Basically, I screwed up, and I underestimated how much it would cost to print and ship the books. basically what I did when I got the quote from Book Vault is that I had it at a higher number of copies. I didn't get a proper estimate for a lower amount of copies. I can't remember exactly what I did, but I feel like I got an estimate for like 100, and then said, okay, if I bought 100 books, it would cost this much, and then I divide that by 100, and it costs roughly this much per book to print the books, and that's what I put in. It costs $35 a book. But the true fact of the matter is that if you don't buy 100 books, it costs more per book because you start getting like bulk discounts, or the shipping is slightly less because you know what I mean? And I didn't even think about that. There was so much going on with this whole Kickstarter that I knew something was going to slip through the cracks, and that was the thing that slipped through the cracks. Because at the end of the day, I bought 18 books. So again, the Kickstarter sold 12. My cover designer wanted a set. I did a giveaway set, and then I wanted a set, obviously. So yeah, so at the end of the day, I bought 18 books. And that's a far cry from 100. So my estimate of how much things would cost was $630. So at 18 books, I was thinking the books were going to cost $35 each. And what they really cost was $46.04 each. And then I estimated my revenue at 900, and I actually did 895, so that was pretty close. So my revenue was slightly less. And then, so based on those estimated numbers, my estimated profit per book should have been 15. And so then I would have had, 15 times 18, it would have been a decent amount. Not a huge number, but it would have gone much more back towards those expenses we talked about. So I estimated $15 profit per book, and I made $3.69. Yeah, so don't do that. Please make sure that you do an estimate for a smaller amount of books, because I had no idea what to expect with this Kickstarter, but I did really think and hope that I was going to sell more than 12 books. But you don't know what's going to happen, so you got to be prepared to figure out, like, if you only sell 10, how can you make that profitable? Because I didn't look at that. And the other fact of the matter is, like, how much more could I have charged? Like, on an honest level, how much more would people pay for this? And I had one of my friends who was super excited about the Kickstarter, and then when it went live, she was like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry, but I'm only gonna get one. I didn't know they were going to be this expensive. And I totally got it. I totally understood, because, like, I basically can't even afford what these books cost. But I couldn't lower the price anymore, and looking at the numbers, like, I actually should have raised the price, and that is, like, the saddest thing ever. Because if I charged, like, per book, basically, I charged, please hold. Yeah, I charged $165. So it's $55 a book is what I charge people. Yeah, I charged people $55 a book, and I made $46 a book. And then once you take off the, because 165 divided by 3, no, not times 3, 165 divided by 3, yeah, it's $55 a book. But then you have to take 10% off of that, so math is not mathing right now. Take 165, times it by 0.90. 148, 50, 148.50 divided by 3. Right. Yeah. So after the Kickstarter fees, I made $49.50 per book. And that seems like a lot. Like, oh my god, you're getting a profit of like you got $50 from me on this book. Yeah, because it cost me $46 to print and get to me. And I only made a profit of $3.69 per book, which is not horrible in the grand scheme of things. But when the point of the Kickstarter is to fund the design of the special editions, $3.69 per book is not going to cut it. And it just really sucks. And what I've been doing is I've been trying to get estimates from other companies to see if they're cheaper, and I tried 48-hour books, which is based in the US. BookVault is in the UK, if you don't know. And 48-hour books gave me an estimate that was like almost twice as expensive. So that's a hard no. I don't know who's printing from 48-hour books and how they're affording it and what they're charging for their books. But yeah, it was a hard no for me. And that was without the shipping costs, okay? Like that, it was $1,500 and I hadn't even gotten it to me yet. So yeah, I guess the moral of the story is that I would love to try Kickstarter again, but I have to find some way to make it cheaper, both for myself and also for the readers, because I don't want to be charging people an arm and a leg in this economy. But you also, like, I also can't afford to, give this stuff away. So yeah, it was an experience. I'm glad I tried it, but I should have done a lot more research before I dove in. And yeah, I don't know how I'm going to go about it next time, but I have to find a cheaper printer is the main priority without going to China. And I'm not trying to be racist or anything, but I know there's I find a lot of issue with stuff that's manufactured outside of like Canada, US, the UK, because I don't know how they do things over there with health and safety and all that, and just ethics and the kinds of products that are used and the chemicals, and I don't know. And I know you can buy stuff a lot cheaper over there, but it's cheaper for a reason, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of authors say, oh, you gotta go and get it like a big printing in China. And it's like, I'm not even selling enough books to make that worth it also. But I don't want to spend my money overseas. I really don't. I don't buy Heinz ketchup anymore because they moved their operations overseas. I want to support my economy more than anything. But being Canadian, we really have like zero printing options here, and it is really sad because we make the trees. Like, I don't know what percentage of paper comes from Canadian lumber, but it's got to be a high number because we're mostly forest, right? But we don't even print our own books here. That's a whole other topic, but yeah, if you watch this whole video, I applaud you. Thank you so much. I apologize if this was ranty, but I needed to get this off my chest, even if nobody ever watches this, because a lot of authorship just feels like you're suffocating in a void and no one can hear you. And I'm really tired. I'm really been defeated a lot lately. Been trying different things and nothing seems to work. And again, like, I didn't have this delusion that this Kickstarter was going to, like, shoot me up to the stars, but I thought it would get me a lot further up from the, yeah, you know what I'm saying. So I am disappointed, but I would try it again. I just have to do things a bit differently next time because it just did not it just didn't go the way I wanted it to go. And quite frankly, I could have spent that $2,000 somewhere else, and it would have gone further somewhere else. So, yeah. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna cancel this video now before I ramble on about nothing. If you have any Kickstarter questions, I can try to answer them in the comments, but I do again highly recommend Kickstarter for Authors Facebook group and the ebook by the same title, I believe, by Anthea Sharp. So definitely check those out. I'll talk to you guys later.